Hey sailors, welcome back to Cruising as Crew. My name is Lucy and today we are going to go through 10 mistakes that first time cruisers generally make. So for those of you who are new here, who don't know me, I'm Lucy, I'm a crew member, I'm working on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. I have been working on ships for almost 10 years, so I have pretty much seen it all. So, without further ado, 10 mistakes that first time cruisers make. Number 1, please do not waste your valuable luggage space packing prohibited items such as kettles, steamers, irons, coffee makers. These will be confiscated as soon as you get on board, and you would be surprised at how many people bring these. I understand like an iron, I understand a steamer. A coffee maker, you really don't need it. There is coffee available on board. But nevertheless, if you try and bring it, they will be confiscated. You will get them back at the end of the cruise. However, it's just a waste of space. You could have packed 5 more dresses or another pair of shoes. This also includes candles, extension leads, plug, like, you're allowed an adapter, you're allowed multiple USB-Cs or USBs, but you are not allowed to have one of those bars that has like 4 plugs that you plug into one plug. I sound like I'm having a stroke, but you know what I mean, hopefully. Those are prohibited, it's a fire hazard, don't bring it. Number 2 is put your phone on flight mode. So I learnt this in my first contract. I flew from London to Australia to join my cruise ship and we were sailing around Australia. It was idyllic. However, being new to ships, I did not know to put my phone on flight mode. So I was making hour-long phone calls home to my dad, like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm working really hard, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I incurred a £700 phone bill in 2 weeks. So that wasn't fun, but my lesson was learned. So please put your phone on flight mode. You might know not to make, you know, calls while you're at sea or the other side of the world. However, even just receiving text messages from your phone provider or any text messages can leave you incurring a lot of charges. So if you put your phone on flight mode, you're still able to use Wi-Fi, so you can still communicate via WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, iChat, and you know, the many others. I have an Android, you can tell, but you just won't incur a huge phone bill, which really isn't what you want when you go on vacation. Because if you incur a $700 phone bill, you're like, that's another cruise. That's literally another cruise. So just put your phone on flight mode as soon as you get on board, and don't take it off flight mode until you disembark the ship. Number 3 is sign up for activities, restaurants, etc. as soon as you get on board, or even better, before you go. So it happens a lot with first time cruisers. They come on board, it's all very la-di-da, and I get it, you're figuring it out, you're on a ship, you've never been on a ship before, it's all very exciting, but they don't sign up for anything. And then on the 2nd day or the 3rd day, they decide that they want to sign up for an aqua show or a comedy show, a restaurant. They want to book in at a restaurant, and it's fully booked for the whole cruise, and they're really annoyed. You're on a cruise ship and there is limited space for absolutely everything, and it is a first come first serve policy. So most cruise lines now have apps that you can download before you even get on board, so you will be able to book restaurants and activities before you even embark the ship. However, if you are not able to do that, as soon as you get on board, one of the first things that you want to do is book yourself into everything. You're going to embark on the Royal Promenade if you're coming on one of the mega ships, and everyone is on the Royal Promenade. The shops, the guest services, the spa are promoting if you want to book in for a spa treatment, the drinks packages salesmen, the restaurateurs, like everyone is here to sell you stuff basically, but also provide you with information. So as soon as you get on board, you want to make sure you've booked in for those activities and booked in for those restaurants. Because what I hate seeing is people coming on their first cruise and it leaves like a sour taste in their mouth. They don't enjoy it as much as they should have and could have if they'd have only given it some forethought and booked things ahead of time. But you don't know to if it's your first cruise, unless you have seen this video or others of people telling you to think ahead, book things ahead, download the app before you get on board. And something else you want to do before you get on board is get travel insurance. If you go on holiday and break your ankle, you go to a hospital on land and you do have to pay a fee. However, it's normally quite reasonable. If you come on a cruise ship and God forbid you break your ankle, you get really ill while you are on board and you have to go to the onboard medical facility, it's expensive. It's very, very expensive. So get travel insurance that will obviously cover that cost. But also, you know, if you have to cancel the trip, if a port gets cancelled, if you miss the ship, if something happens, you want to have someone that you can call. And everyone thinks travel insurance is ridiculous until something happens. And speaking of things going wrong and needing someone to call, use a travel agent for your first cruise. There are many reasons why you need to use a travel agent for your first cruise. You have no idea what you're doing when you're booking your first cruise. And I'll tell you a little story. So when I told my parents that I wanted to work on cruise ships, they very lovingly said, okay, well, you don't know, you might get seasick, so we don't want you to sign up for a 6-month contract or a 9-month contract, go on a cruise ship and find out that you're seasick. So we need to go on a cruise if you want to work on cruise ships. My parents booked us a cruise, but they did not know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were booking. And they booked a Carnival cruise. Now, no shade to Carnival. I know many people love them, and there is a cruise line for everyone. I truly believe that. However, Carnival was not the right cruise line for my mature, quiet British parents. Me and my brother had a great time. They were like, oh my God, this is hell on earth. What have we done? So the reason that booking with a travel agent is beneficial is because they can guide you towards the right cruise line. Maybe you're more of a Royal Caribbean person or a Cunard person, P&O, Silver Sea. Like, there are so many different cruise lines. If you book a cruise yourself and you pick the wrong cruise line, it can put you off cruising forever, when it might not be cruising that you don't like, it might just be the cruise line. Another reason is the cabin situation. You want a travel agent to help you choose a cabin. There are many, many, many different cabins on board these cruise ships, and picking the right one is crucial for you to be able to enjoy your cruise. So that's another reason why you want to use a travel agent. Also, if something goes wrong, you want to be able to call your travel agent and say, hey, you need to fix this. Maybe you missed the ship, maybe a port is changed, maybe, you know, many, many things can happen / go wrong when you go on holiday, whether it is a land holiday or whether it is a cruise. And having a travel agent, especially for your first cruise, while you are still learning how to navigate cruising, is a really, really good idea. So please use a travel agent for your first cruise. And speaking of being prepared for anything, take extra toiletries / medication with you. You will be able to purchase these things on board the ship. Every cruise ship has like a little necessities store where you can get medication, toiletries, etc. However, they're going to be double the price of back home. So take some seasick tablets, take some diarrhea pills, ibuprofen, paracetamol, because you just don't know if you're going to need it or not, and it's better to just have it than not. I, as many of you know, do this. So this bag is full of medication and things that me and Josh might need. We've got a little pharmacy right here. You do not need to bring as much as I have. Obviously, I'm on here for a few months, but if you're coming on a cruise, bring the odd tablet with you, because it's just so much cheaper to bring it with you than to have to buy it when you're on board. You can bring your own drinks on board on embarkation day. If you buy alcohol when you are out in one of the ports, it will be confiscated when you come back on board, and then it will be returned to you the night before that you disembark the cruise ship. However, If you bring some drinks on with you when you embark the ship, they will not be confiscated. So the options are, you can bring 2 bottles of wine or 2 bottles of champagne per stateroom, and then you can bring 12 standard cans of non-alcoholic sodas, Sprite, Coca-Cola, Fanta, sparkling water, club soda, whatever you want. You cannot bring any hard liquor on board, so no whiskey, no vodka, no gin, or anything of that nature. If you're not a big drinker but you like the odd glass of wine, then bring wine with you, because you don't want to pay for an alcoholic's drink package if you're not gonna make the most of it, you know? If you only want 1 or 2 glasses here and there, just bring your own bottle. The same as if, you know, if you're not a big soda drinker, you don't want to pay for a soda drinks package when you can bring 12 cans of sodas on with you. If you're only gonna drink 6 sodas during your week's cruise, then this might be an option for you, you know, 6 each. And you can bring them on in your hand luggage. So if you're not a big alcohol drinker, if you're not a big soda drinker, then this might be a better option than buying the drinks package, because it's only really worth it if you drink quite a lot. Another mistake that people make on their first cruise is eating in the buffet every night because they don't know that the main dining room is included. We did this on our Carnival cruise. We didn't realise the main dining room was included. We ate in the buffet every night, or a speciality restaurant. And it was only on, like, I think the 3rd to last night of the cruise we realised that the main dining room was included. It's included! The only thing is you have to pay like $16 gratuity to your waiter, which will be like added onto your bill at the end of the cruise, depending on what cruise line you go on. Obviously I'm talking about Royal Caribbean. But yeah, the main dining room is included in your cruise price. So you don't have to eat in the buffet every dinner time. You can also eat in the main dining room too. So please remember this, because the main dining room is wonderful. Please research the ports before you go so you don't waste time or money. So when we got on our Carnival cruise, we didn't book any excursions because, quite frankly, they were too expensive. We also did not research any of the ports, which meant that we spent the days just wandering around aimlessly, which was fine. I mean, we still had a good time, but like, looking back, it would have been so much more beneficial if one of us had actually said, hey, I found this thing there is to do, let's do it. And also, we didn't realise that we could book excursions outside of the cruise line for our first cruise. We thought you had to do an excursion on board the ship, and that is not the case at all. You can, of course, book excursions outside of the cruise line with an independent company. The benefit of that is they are normally far cheaper. The benefit of booking an excursion on board the cruise line is that the cruise ship will wait for you. So let's say you're stuck in traffic or the excursion is delayed for whatever reason. If you booked it through the cruise line, the cruise ship has to wait for you. If you book it through an independent company, the cruise line may leave you behind. So for your first cruise, if you can afford it, then maybe stick to the excursions provided by the cruise line, because especially when you're not used to cruising, it can make you feel quite anxious if you're like, oh, are we going to get back on time? Oh, are we going to get back on time? We can't miss the ship. And you don't want to spend your day in port worrying about missing the ship. You're probably not going to miss the ship. Very few people miss the ship. If you go with a reputable excursions company, they will ensure that you are back on time before the ship leaves, because they don't want that on their conscience either. But even if you are not going to do an excursion, please just have a little Google or a YouTube of the destinations that you are going to. There's so much information out there now on pretty much every port that you're going to visit. So get a visual, and then at least you have an idea of like where to go, where not to go, what people have said is good about the port and what isn't so good. Save time, save money. You're only in these ports for a limited amount of time, so you really want to make the most of it. And finally, please don't book yourself an early flight to go home. It happens all the time. People have booked a flight home at 10 AM. It's going to be a stressful day for you, because even if you get off the ship at 6, alright, like, and the airport's closed, yes, you can make it, but what if there's a delay? What if the ship can't dock in time because the weather's bad, or what if there's a medical emergency and someone needs to be escorted off the ship? What if, like, there's so many things. So please book your flight home from your cruise after 2 p.m. Yes, it might mean that you're sitting around in the airport for a few hours, but me personally, I would much rather do that than be running through the airport not knowing if I'm going to make my flight or not. I've done it before. I never want to do it again. You guys have seen it because I've vlogged it. It wasn't fun. So book your flight home for after 2 p.m. And speaking of flights, arrive at your embarkation destination the day before you are due to embark. Please! Your flight might be delayed. It might be cancelled. The traffic might, like, you just don't know what's going to happen. So please just spend at least one night in the destination where you're going to be embarking your cruise ship, because arriving the same day, again, it's so stressful and it needn't be. Just pay the extra money for a hotel or even a hostel and have a nice relaxing time. Those are the 10 mistakes that I have seen first time cruisers make over and over and over again. So please learn from this video. Please do not make these mistakes, because I just want you to have a good vacation. I just want you to have a good cruise. So if you do all of these things, you will for sure have a fantastic cruise. And you will become addicted to it like I am. If you don't do these things, you will never want to cruise again, most likely. But anyway, I hope you've had a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great week ahead, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.